There is a moment when you start to feel that something inside you does not match the life you are still living. You may not have words for it yet, but you can feel the quiet pressure of an older version of yourself sitting on your shoulders. Not the version people see when you try to be strong. Not the version that smiles in photos. The one built in silence, in late nights, in small fears you never voiced, in all the times you chose to stay quiet instead of saying what you really felt. That version moves first. It thinks before you think. It reacts before you decide. It writes a story in your head, and without noticing, you start to live as if that story is the only one available to you. Most people call this being stuck. They look at their life and say, nothing changes, nothing moves, nothing opens. But deep down, something else is happening. It is not life that is refusing to shift. It is the old you that refuses to step aside. You think your job, your routine, your circumstances are trapping you. But actually, it is the habits, meanings, and old conclusions you carry inside that keep you in place. That old identity still thinks its job is to protect you, and it does that by keeping you small and predictable. There is a quiet turning point that starts the moment you stop trying to rearrange everything outside and finally look at the one place that truly shapes your reality, the way you see yourself. Not in a dramatic way, not in a sudden breakthrough. It starts in small, almost invisible pauses. A thought you question instead of obey. A reaction you notice instead of acting on. A moment when you feel the old you rising, and for the first time you do not let it speak for you. You feel this shift in your body before you understand it with your mind. It shows up as discomfort, as restlessness, as a strange sense that the person you have been playing is not the person you can continue to be. Rooms that used to feel normal now feel heavy. Conversations that used to distract you now feel empty. People you once tolerated now drain you faster than you can recover. When you try to force yourself back into your old patterns, your whole system tightens. This tension is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something inside you is growing. You think you are exhausted because life is hard. But actually you are exhausted because you keep asking an old version of you to carry a life it was never designed for. That version belonged to another time, to another level of awareness, to another chapter of your story. Your deeper self already knows this. That is why you feel resistance when you repeat old choices. That is why pretending feels heavier than honesty. That is why you cannot go back to the way things were, even if you try. Most people try to silence this shift. They tell themselves to be grateful, to stop overthinking, to stop wanting more. They are afraid that if they listen to this inner movement, everything will fall apart. But here's the quiet truth. You are not falling apart. You are shedding the identity that once held you together. The structure that kept you safe is becoming too tight. It is not a crisis. It is a signal. When you ask, why is nothing changing? You are asking the wrong question. The real question is, who am I being when I make these choices? Because the moment you turn your attention from the outside to the one who is observing, everything starts to loosen. You begin to see that many of your decisions were not really decisions, they were reflexes, leftover reactions from older moments, old conclusions replaying themselves over and over. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. The instant you notice a reaction instead of becoming it, a small gap opens. That gap is powerful. In that space you can see the old you moving, but you no longer have to move with it. You can watch the thought rise and let it pass. You can feel the impulse to shrink and choose not to follow it. You can feel the urge to explain yourself and decide to stay quiet instead. Most people think the past is behind them, but actually the past lives inside them until they are willing to look at it with clear eyes. The next time you feel an old response rise in you, do not rush past it. Do not force a new behavior, just notice it. One moment of silent attention. 1 second of seeing it for what it is, a familiar pattern, not a command. This is your micro practice, simple, quiet, precise. What you witness consciously, you no longer obey automatically. The old you is not wrong. It is simply complete. There's a quiet relief that arrives when you realize you do not need to fight your old self. You only need to stop giving it authority. The moment you stop feeding its fears, they weaken. The moment you stop believing its limits, they dissolve. The moment you stop letting its voice speak louder than your own, something inside you shifts, not dramatically, but steadily, like a door unlocking from the inside. Most people think change is about force, pushing harder, doing more, trying to fix themselves. But here is the truth. Real change begins with honesty. The honesty to admit that the patterns you live in are not who you are anymore. The honesty to see that your inner world has been shifting quietly for a long time. The honesty to acknowledge that you have already outgrown an identity you still try to squeeze into. You are not meant to drag every past version of yourself through every chapter of your life. You are meant to learn from them, thank them, and release them. When you finally understand this, something within you softens. The pressure you feel in your chest loosens. The tension around your decisions unwinds. And for the first time in a long time, there is room. Room to breathe, room to grow, room to simply be. You think letting go means losing stability, but actually letting go means releasing the illusion that stability comes from staying the same. You are not losing identity. You are losing an outdated role that no longer fits the person you are becoming. You think you are attached to the past because it mattered, but actually, you are attached because it is familiar. And familiarity becomes a cage the moment your awareness grows beyond it. There comes a moment, and you may feel it now, when your usual responses begin to feel strange. When excuses that once sounded logical suddenly feel hollow. When pretending requires more energy than honesty. When something inside you whispers, "Not this anymore." That whisper is not fear, it is direction. Every time you ignore that whisper, the discomfort grows. Every time you listen to it, something shifts in your reality. A person drifts away. A desire becomes louder. A boundary becomes clearer. A path you avoided begins to call you forward. These are not coincidences. These are signs that alignment is catching up with you. You are not stuck. You are transitioning. And transitions feel confusing because your inner observer is updating, while parts of you are still repeating the old script. This is why you feel both ready and afraid, both clear and uncertain, both grounded and lost. Nothing is wrong with you. You are in the middle of becoming. Growth feels like loss before it feels like clarity. You lose interest in what used to distract you. You lose tolerance for what drains you. You lose the ability to lie to yourself without consequence. You lose the need to trade pieces of yourself for acceptance. Every loss is a release. Here is the truth most people never hear. You think you are falling apart. But actually you are falling into alignment. When the old you rises, with its doubts, fears, and familiar stories, you do not need to overpower it. You do not need to fight it. Just observe it. The moment you say, "This is the old version speaking," you create distance. And in that distance, the new version of you begins to step forward, quietly, steadily, authentically. Identity is not a prison. Identity is a choice, and you are allowed to choose again. Letting go is not a dramatic collapse, it is a quiet decision. I will no longer carry what was built from old pain. It is the willingness to let your life unfold without forcing every moment through the filter of who you used to be. Something in you is ready, even if you cannot explain it. Something in you is shifting, even if you still feel uncertain. Something in you is becoming, even if you do not yet see the full shape. You are already moving toward the person you were always meant to become. There comes a point when the old patterns inside you start pulling you back, not because they are strong, but because they are familiar. They rise in moments when you feel exposed, tired, or uncertain. They rise because they were once your only protection. They rise because they remember what hurt you. They rise because they were built to keep you safe when you had fewer tools than you have now. But here is the truth most people never learn. The moment you outgrow a survival pattern, it stops being protection and becomes a limitation. It begins to shrink your choices. It narrows your world. It keeps you repeating what no longer matches your inner reality. You think fear means you are not ready, but actually fear means you are stepping into a place the old you never walked before. You think hesitation means something is wrong, but actually hesitation appears when your old identity cannot process the size of your next step. You think confusion means failure, but actually confusion means your inner observer is rewriting your map. The old you only knows the past. It reacts with old memories. It interprets new situations through old meanings. It tries to protect you using outdated information. This is why life feels repetitive, not because nothing changes, but because your identity has been responding to today with the logic of yesterday. The repetition ends the moment your awareness shifts. There is something powerful that happens when you stop blaming yourself for being stuck and start understanding your patterns. You begin to see why you react the way you do. You begin to notice the small triggers that once controlled you. You begin to understand the roots of your behaviors, and with that understanding, the inner fight loses its force. You stop punishing yourself for repeating what you never consciously chose. You start listening to yourself with clarity instead of judgment. This is how the next version of you begins, in the small pauses before the reaction, in the quiet moments when you catch the story before you believe it, in the subtle awareness that says, I do not want to be this version anymore. Most people think they need confidence before they take the next step. But confidence does not come first. Courage comes first. And confidence grows from the steps you take while still uncertain. Confidence is the echo. Courage is the action. You think transformation is loud, but transformation is repetitive. It is the accumulation of small, honest choices. The choice to speak to yourself with respect. The choice to rest without asking for permission. The choice to set a boundary without apologizing. The choice to let silence replace explanations. These quiet choices build your new identity long before the world notices it. The real shift becomes visible when life activates your old triggers. That is the moment the new you appears. Not in calm days, but in hard ones. Not when everything goes smoothly, but when the old pattern calls your name, and you do not answer. If you feel like you are standing between two versions of yourself, you are not lost. You are evolving. Transitions feel unstable because you are no longer who you were, but not yet who you are becoming. You are not meant to feel certain here. You are meant to feel open. Most people feel exhausted not because life is heavy, but because they are trying to live a new chapter with an old identity. Pay attention to the moments when your inner voice whispers, I cannot keep living like this. That is not fear. That is direction. It is the future calling you forward. You are not behind. You are unfolding. There is a shift that begins the moment you stop trying to prove anything, to yourself, to others, to the world, and start trying to understand yourself. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It feels like a soft internal click, a quiet reorganization inside you, a sense that something is aligning without your effort. This is the beginning of clarity. Gentle, steady, unmistakable. You think you need strength to change, but actually, you need clarity. You think you need to force a new life, but actually, you need to release what no longer belongs to you. You think you need to rebuild everything, but actually, you need to shift the observer inside you, the part of you that decides what matters and what doesn't, what feels true and what feels heavy, what stays and what leaves. Here is the truth most people avoid. The old version of you survives through interpretation. It assigns the same meaning to new situations. It repeats the same internal script even when it hurts. It chooses doubt because doubt feels familiar. But the moment you recognize this, everything becomes clearer. You stop confusing habit with truth. You stop confusing fear with intuition. You stop confusing survival with identity. And that is when the real shift begins. You start noticing the things that were always there, but you never felt them fully. The pressure in your chest when someone crosses your boundary. the heaviness you feel when you silence your real thoughts, the spark inside you when something aligns with who you are becoming. These signals are not random. They are your internal compass. They are the voice of your next version speaking in a language your old self never understood. Most people ignore these signals because they expect transformation to be dramatic. But the most powerful changes happen in your quietest moments, in stillness, in honesty, in the simple decision, I will not abandon myself this time. You feel the future version of yourself before you fully understand it. It shows up in the questions you now ask, in the discomfort around old behaviors, in the conversations you no longer join, in the peace you choose over approval. This is not imagination. This is the evolution of your inner observer. And when the observer evolves, the world responds. People begin treating you differently. Your boundaries become clearer. Your choices feel cleaner. Your attention shifts toward things the old you ignored or feared. You think you are waiting for a sign. But the sign is the discomfort you feel every time you try to stay who you are no longer meant to be. Letting go is not forgetting your past. Letting go is releasing the identity that formed from old pain. You do not erase that version. You honor it. You thank it. And then you stop letting it lead. It helped you survive. But you are not here just to survive. When the old you rises again, with its doubts, its fear, its familiar stories, do not resist it. Do not shame it. Just observe it. One quiet second of awareness. One breath of distance. What you notice clearly, you no longer obey by default. Identity dissolves through awareness, not effort. If you feel like you are shedding layers you cannot name, trust it. If you feel like you can never return to who you were, trust that too. If you feel unsure of who you are becoming, let that be okay. The in-between is not a mistake. It is preparation. Reality responds to the version of you expressed in small, consistent choices. Every shift in your awareness redirects your life, not because of luck, but because attention shapes behavior, and behavior shapes experience. You are not breaking apart. You are breaking through. There is a moment, quiet, almost unseen, when the new version of you finally steps forward. It does not arrive with certainty. It arrives with a subtle shift in the way you think, the way you choose, the way you speak to yourself when no one else hears. You begin to notice that you are no longer reacting from old wounds, but responding from a deeper, steadier place. This is the moment you realize the change you were waiting for has already begun inside you. You think transformation requires force, but actually transformation requires permission. Permission to stop interrupting the change already unfolding within you. You think your future is far away, but actually it appears in every quiet choice you no longer make from fear. You think you need to rebuild everything, but actually life begins to shift the moment the observer inside you shifts. This is the part most people misunderstand. Reality does not change first. You change first, in the smallest, cleanest inner ways. When you stop choosing what drains you, when you stop apologizing for your truth, when you stop shrinking to make others comfortable, when you stop abandoning yourself to keep old roles alive. These tiny choices build the identity your future needs. Most people fear change, but here is the truth. They do not fear change. They fear becoming the version of themselves they have always sensed. The stronger one, the clearer one, the one they no longer have excuses to hide behind. And yet, that version is already here. You can feel it in the way you say no without guilt, in the way you choose rest without shame, in the way you stay calm in moments that once overwhelmed you, in the way truth now feels lighter than pretending. These are not small improvements. These are signs of a new identity taking shape. Life responds differently now because you are no longer looking at it through the lens of the old you. The old lens was shaped by fear. The new lens is shaped by awareness. And awareness changes the meaning of everything. Your relationships, your boundaries, your sense of direction, your sense of self. If you feel a quiet certainty that you cannot return to who you were, that is your confirmation. If you feel a gentle pull toward a version of yourself you cannot yet describe, trust it. You do not need clarity. You need willingness. Because the new you is not a destination. It is a direction. And you are already moving in that direction through every honest choice you make. Before we close, here is the moment that matters most. Think of one belief, one habit, one old story about yourself that you have been carrying simply because it felt familiar. See it clearly for what it is. Feel its weight. And ask yourself gently, does this still belong to me? If the answer is no, you do not have to force anything. Just stop carrying it as if it defines you. Let it soften. Let it loosen. Let it leave your hands when it is ready. You are not imagining the shift happening inside you. You are witnessing it. You are feeling the moment your new observer takes its place. You are stepping out of loyalty to your past and into loyalty to your becoming. If one quiet sentence stayed with you, write it below. Let it anchor the beginning of your new chapter. Tune in. Recalibrate. Shift your frequency.